was very useful in their origins. It brings a lot of guidance and light for people. And of course, as every religion, it has finished its cycle, and now many of the things that are related to Islam, they are not really desired by God, or they are not really part of Islam.
Hello, amazing human! Welcome to this episode of Sabelnia, the podcast in which we address matters and ideas that concern human experience. On this fragment of space-time, we will sink our perceptions into context that will help us to build a more complete background of knowledge to try to answer the question that will represent the light at the end of our tunnel. Should a culture that threatens human integrity and dignity be questioned? To address it, we would first need to define two concepts: culture and human integrity and dignity. Culture refers to a set of understandings shared within a group of people that shape its individual's perception of life. This concept goes beyond music, food, and traditional costumes. It comprehends elements like language, values, and spirituality, and plays a crucial role on individual and collective identity. Human integrity and dignity can be measured through an international tool which purpose is to establish a common framework of individual guarantees over which every person has the same opportunities to reach a fulfilling life. Human rights. The region of the world in which we will focus on this episode is the Middle East, more specifically Iran. In contemporary Western society, Iranian reality has been portrayed through the stigma around a Muslim, fundamentalist, and closed-minded society. While Islam is the official religion of this country and its Iranian interpretation is the foundation of its legal system, the closed-minded and extremist part is a harsh stereotype that should not be taken as an absolute narrative. For this episode, we interviewed three individuals that could provide a first-hand experience over the reality lived in Iran. They belong to three different demographics, which human rights are affected by Iranian interpretation of Islam on a daily basis.
Of course, many of the traditions are applied by the culture and so on, no?
Shadow Pacador will share his answers from a Baha'i perspective. Fariba Almasi represents the perspective of a female in Iran. She didn't want to provide her voice, but I can read her answers to you.
When you think and talk and act in a good way, so you're a good person.
Arsham Parsi is an Iranian activist for LGBT rights. The three of them were born and raised in Iran to later flee their country to seek a lifestyle that would not be restrained by the piece of their identity represented in this podcast. The questions were intended to build awareness of the cultural background in Iran from three different spheres: religion, social norms, and governmental rules. As mentioned before, human rights are a magic international tool to measure human integrity and dignity, and ultimately the level of peace experienced by humanity. This is why the first question asked to our interviewees was directed to know their posture towards human rights and on whether they should be granted regardless of their circumstances.
Well, I believe they are essential. There are many countries that they are not allowed. They are not treated as right, but I believe it should be implemented in each country and every place. Circumstances can be very different, but the human rights shouldn't be broken, no?
I think human rights is very important and it should be universal, and it doesn't belong to a specific country.
Fariba agreed on the universality and unconditionality of these rights and added that they are not regarded in Iran. The next question was, what does Islam mean to you?
Islam is a religion. It was sent from God about 600 or 700 years after Jesus Christ, and actually Islam was very useful in their origins. It brings a lot of guidance and light for people, and of course, as every religion, it has finished its cycle, and now many of the things that are related to Islam, they are not really desired by God, or they are not really part of Islam. They are just darkness or fanatism.
Fariba said, "For me, it is a question of culture. I was born a Muslim and was not given a choice. Today, I practice it only in a cultural sense, just like most Occidental people do at Christmas, because it is a tradition. This is how I celebrate Christmas and how I practice Islam. Both Islam and Christianity are part of my cultural heritage."
Just a religion. All of them are not good because, I was born as Muslim, but I don't practice anymore. I don't believe in Islam. I don't believe in Christianity as well. I don't believe in Judaism as well. I think all of them is just a religion that they want to control people.
Then we asked them about the role that Islam plays in Iranian culture. These were their responses.
Let's say when the majority of the people are Muslims, and of course many of the traditions are applied by the culture and so on.
Culture is not Islamic. Mostly in Iran, culture is Zoroastrian.
Iran is not a country where Islam plays such a big role, right?
Yes, it does, but in last 50 years, the government enforced Islam and they tried to change everything, and they failed.
And Fariba's opinion is that today Islam does play a fundamental role in Iranian culture. After the Islamic Revolution, it has become normalized. It is a large part of the everyday life of an Iranian. However, many oppose to how Islam is enforced by the Islamic rules interpretation. The next question addressed social norms and what is the perfect model of a good member of Iranian community according to the culture.
I understand that a good citizen is someone who works hard and really treats people with their rights, and they should be honest and family caring and so on.
For Iranian culture, a good citizen is someone who contributes to the community, being a good person, doing good things. Because, in the Syrian culture or Iranian culture, there is three main factors. First, think good. Second, talk good. Third, act good. When you think and talk and act in a good way, so you're a good person.
Fariba said, "It's very simple. Be kind to each other. Iranians are very open and hospitable toward guests." And then we made exactly the same question, but replacing Iranian culture for Iranian state.
The government today is fundamentalist, is trying to apply many rules that really they are not valid. They are restraining many human rights of the minorities as other religions, and this is not correct. And basically, I don't think they are really serving the people of the country, no?
For the government, a good citizen is someone who's being religious, who's going for Friday prayers, who's being blah blah, but usually people doesn't agree with it. That is why in Iran we have a lot of issues and between government and people are being arrested or executed or these things because there is a resistance.
For Fariba, the perfect model of a good citizen according to Iranian state is someone whose life is based on Islam. As a conclusion, we decided to ask our interviewees to share their perspective on the matter that brought us here. Should a culture that threatens human integrity and dignity be questioned?
Sure, and not only questioned. I believe really the world has to be united against that kind of practices.
Yes, I think it should be challenged, and it should be challenged by good authorities.
And Fariba said, "Yes, I don't know what to say. This should be an obvious answer to everyone on this earth. But as we know, it is not obvious to everyone. And it is understandable. If culture represents the deepest root of human concept of itself, it comes natural that people react through fear when an alternative to its absolute utility is presented. Questioning an institution, in this case religion as a fundamental part of culture, does not mean invalidating it, but unveiling that it is human-created, and as such, it can be modified to reach a more dignifying and humane reality. It is not about abolishing the institutions that already create bonds and unite people, but to create new ones that guarantee peaceful and harmonic human interaction. As to now, the simplest way to reach that present is to relate to each other through respect, empathy, and appreciation, and always taking into account human rights as a fundamental framework. Please don't forget to share in the comments which topic would you like us to address in the next episodes. Thank you for joining us today. Have a nice whatever time of the day is when you listen to this.